Okay, so I've been really fortunate. We've just been in to see this lady. I unusually have Michelle with me today, who's obviously filming this, desperately trying not to giggle as I'm talking. We went in at 8 o'clock, and first thing that we do when we go in is we do a breathalyzer. So part of the process for this is that we ask the person to stop drinking at 6 o'clock on the previous night. The underpinning knowledge for this is it's normally around about 14 hours that we start having breakthrough symptoms for withdrawal. Withdrawal essentially means that the body will start exhibiting signs that it's missing something. Now, this is similar for physically dependent substances like heroin or any of the opiates, and also, for alcohol. For opiates, we use a clinical opiate withdrawal scale, but for alcohol, we use the Clinical Institute Withdrawal Alcohol Rating Scale, CWAR. CWAR is a 10-point questionnaire, and then we also do physical obs. So physical obs will be blood pressure, pulse, temperature, and respirations. So at 8 o'clock this morning, when we went in, the rating scale then has the following things. So nausea and vomiting. If you can imagine that the person has been used to having one meal a day and drinking sort of large quantities of alcohol, what's happening is their stomach is beginning to decrease. So they're having less space then for food. They're also getting sugar from the alcohol, which is then helping them fuel them to do whatever they need to do. But obviously, in ever decreasing sort of circles, this then starts diminishing their ability to actually achieve anything. So one of the things we're checking for then is nausea and vomiting, because if they've had no alcohol for 14 hours, it's unlikely they would have had food. So they're going to start feeling sick. This then will have the corresponding effect. The stomach acid starts doing what it should be doing, but because there's nothing in there, then they'll start feeling even more sick, which will then correspondingly make their psychology feel as if they're really, really ill. We're also checking then for tremor. Their hands have to be in front of them, locked at the elbows, because it's very hard then to induce a tremor. If their arms are locked and there is a marked tremor, then you like I said, you're scoring them from 0 to 9. In this instance, she was scoring a 3. We're also looking for something which is called paroxysmal sweats. This is where I run a thumb across the ball of the thumb by there and by there, and then obviously to see if there's a bead of sweat going across their forehead. We're also then marking for agitation. So if the person, their fingers are doing this all the time, or they're shuffling, you can generally tell when someone is quite agitated. In this instance, she was scoring a 2, so there was a marked increase in how she was presenting. Then we ask about tactile disturbances. Are they having any pins and needles in their fingertips, their toes? This is because it might be indicating something called peripheral neuritis, which is where the capillary veins in the tips of your fingers start losing sensation. We're checking for this primarily because obviously we're making sure that how far advanced the alcohol dependence is, and if there's any other things that we need to do. And I'll come back to that in a minute. Then we're checking for auditory and visual disturbances. So when you're talking to the person, you're asking them if your voice sounds louder or quieter than normal. and you're also checking to see that they're not seeing dark floaty bits at the corner of their eyes, or looking for if they're having any sort of hallucinatory experience going on. So it could be, people who are not there, pink elephants, those sort of things. Then we're checking for headache, because again, headache can be a manifestation of either withdrawal symptoms, but also dehydration. One of the things we would be checking then is, are they getting enough fluid in? Do they need to sort of go to the toilet? Are they having those sort of issues going on? Then we're looking at the last in this list. Then is orientation, clarity of sensorium. It's a very fancy word for making sure that they're orientated to time and place. So these questions would be, and you need to sort of think a little bit about the sort of questions you're going to ask. What's the day? What's the time? What's the year? Who lives in Downing Street? Who lives in Buckingham Palace? Things that they should know, that will orientate them to where you are in the universe. So on this, she was scoring a 10, and ordinarily a score of 11 and above would instigate or would trigger that you would give them diazepam. Obviously, I've been doing this a long time, and I know scores between 9 and above. That's when I would start thinking about giving some medication. In this instance, she had a pulse rate of 116, blood pressure of 169/88, respiratory rate of 14, and a temperature of 36.7. Temperature was fine, respirations are fine, so she's not distressed. But she also has a history of high blood pressure and pulse. So this is not unusual for this lady. However, it is with the rates that I talked about with the anxiety and agitation. It is indicating that she's going into that into a higher withdrawal rate. So I've given her 20 milligrams of diazepam. And we will go back and see her then in an hour's time. Now, I'd sort of expect a little bit later on that we are going to have to medicate a little bit further, and we'll talk about that later on. So see you in a bit. So it's 10:40. Obviously we've done the 8 o'clock visit, and we did the 9:30 visit. On the 9:30 visit, the diazepam had reduced her score back down to a 7. She is much more comfortable, and we've just done the 10:40 visit, and her score's gone back up to 11, which is what I said earlier on. One of the biggest difficulties for community detox, it's a double-edged sword. So on the one part, they're in their own environment, they're comfortable, and they've got familiar things around them. They've got people, apart from obviously having me going in there. They've got a family member or a friend who's supporting them through the day. But also, because the mind is such a wonderful thing, what they tend to do is they tend to demonize the day before it happens, and when the reality of the day comes, and they tend to find that they're quite bored, they're not really sure what they should be doing, and so part of the nurse's role going into this is about sort of managing sort of expectation and managing anxiety. So this lady had a little cry with Michelle, and she was given the opportunity then to sort of explore some of her feelings, and also then come back in as we had a bit of a learning experience together. So one of the things then about managing those expectations is about future building. future building, as in what we're doing is we're not looking at what's happened in the past. Okay, we're looking forward to see what we can build for the future. And part of that then is getting them to understand, getting the clients to understand that they have ownership of what they're doing. Big part of that then is explaining that they made the choice to come in for the detox. It was their choice every step of the way, and that they were taking ownership of that. Taking ownership of something means then that they're invested in what they're going to be doing for the future. So we then started talking about things like bucket lists, taking ownership of her thoughts, taking ownership of her picture, her language, and how that has an impact on everything that she's doing. So we've given her another 20 milligrams of diazepam this time, so that's 40 milligrams at the moment. All right, so here we are now. We've just completed our 4th visit. It's 1:10 now, so we've just left the property. So she's had 40 milligrams of diazepam so far, and on the last visit now she's scoring a 5, which is pretty much where I expected to be. In terms of withdrawal symptoms, everything's settled right back down. Still a little bit of tremor, but again, one of the things that we will be explaining is that tremor can last anything from a day up to about 7 days after detox. If it continues after that and it's noticeable, then we would be asking her or the client to go to the GP to see if there's anything else underlying. Also, a big part of what we're talking about is diet and how they sort of maintain their sort of equilibrium and homeostasis going forward. So we're talking about having a good food intake, good diet intake, not going towards which a lot of us will can do, is going towards the ready meals, takeout meals, and fried food. So we've just parked up now. We're going to go back at around about sort of 2:10. So we'll keep you updated as we go along.
Oh, for God's sake.
Okay, so obviously I'm here in the client's house. I'm going to go through the CWAR again. We're at the end of the day, so I'm sort of expecting this will be the last but one visit, because the client has done exceptionally well today, and she's where I expected to be at the moment. So, any nausea at the moment? No? You feeling okay? Yeah, no butterflies?
No, it's gone again.
Yeah, okay. And if you won't mind putting your hand out in front of you for me. Oh, that's much better. Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well done. And let me just feel your hands a minute. So I'm checking for proximal sweats, and I was checking for tremor, and that's really good. So where would you say your anxiety levels are at the moment?
Average.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Better for you?
Better for me.
Yeah, okay. And so there's no feelings of sort of impending doom at the moment? No, good, okay. So on a scale of 1 to 5, would you say a 2?
Yeah.
1 or 2, yeah? Okay, brilliant. And one of the things I'm doing now is looking for agitation, and we've got the Buddha next to me. So you've done really well today, haven't you? Okay, any funny sensations in your fingertips or toes?
No, I got that heart racing a bit.
Yeah.
And I took my Zapping just now at about 4:15, so I took
Okay.
it to
Yeah.
it's a bit muzzy head again.
Okay. So that's the...
It's 5 I've taken today.
Yeah. So if you're going to have some more, I would have it around about 8 o'clock, 9, half 8.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you're looking, you know, when you listen to what I'm saying, and when you're looking around the room, it doesn't sound louder than normal. There's no funny little black spots or, you know, nothing this...
I was expecting to be a lot more spaced out than I am.
Yeah.
It's just calm.
Yeah. A big part of that, though, is, you know, is about us managing how much of the diazepam you're having. If you remember what I was saying, is about seizure risk but also over sedation.
Yeah.
So at the moment, you're in that nice little calm plateau, you know, where you know it's good. So that will continue now for probably a day and a half. So we should be okay. All right. Headache gone completely now? Or still a little bit of
Still a little bit muzzy.
Okay. But you've already just taken the pass,
Yeah.
the
Zapping.
Zapping, so okay. But it's not as bad as it was.
This morning it was a bit,
More severe, wasn't
But
it?
I think when you haven't slept much as well, that doesn't help, does it? You know, you get headaches and things.
Yeah. And obviously we know that it's a revolving door, but who lives in number 10 Downing Street?
Prime Minister.
Yeah. Okay. So we're
I
asking.
know what his name is.
Do you?
Richie Sunak.
Ricky.
Yeah, that's him.
Ricky Sunak.
I call him Richie.
Fab. So we're scoring a 4 now, which is really, really good. If the next visit, the score is going to be roughly the same. Detox is then finished.